Hello, everyone. This is the second video segment that you will need to watch, perhaps more than one time. And if you still need help, also ask one of the tutors to assist you as we complete our study of chapter 20 for the time being. We will come back to that chapter because we must do more with participles. But in this part, I would like to primarily talk about chapter 21, or specifically chapter 21, section 21.1. So only introducing this week the perfect tense. But before we do that, as always, I would like to do just a short review. And I'm going to use a different screen. I believe, let's see, I should have tested that beforehand. There it is. Oh, no, it's the microphone. No, let's see. I've got the wrong, there it is. Okay. All right, you should see my small whiteboard. It's very small, so I can't get much on it. But you will notice again that we have three primary uses of the participle: as a noun, as an adjective, and as an adverb. And I've written two examples. Number one, of the noun use: ha lamban on. And if you look at the present active participle forms, you will know that this is the nominative singular. It has to be because of the article ha. If it were the accusative, it would be ton lamban on ta. Ton, the article, accusative, and lamban on ta. On ta is the accusative ending for the present active participle. But the nominative case, ha lamban on, simply means the one receiving. Now notice we also have he lab usa, which also simply means the one who receives. I won't say the one receiving because that implies that the action is continuing, and you will notice that we have the stem lab. Lab is the aorist of lambano. So this is the present tense, the one receiving or the one taking. But this is the aorist tense, the one who receives, the one who takes. Now, I should have also emphasized to you that participles are usually relating in some way to a main verb. That is, the context given by the main verb would probably say, be telling us the one who received, except in this case, it would be probably a woman or a girl, a lady, because it looks like it's a person. It wouldn't necessarily have to be a person. The context might refer to example for hey, some object. I wanted to say maybe gay. If we say the earth, hey, gay, that would be feminine. And if we used it with that, the one, the earth, which is receiving rain, for example, or which then it's probably because of the aorist tense, which is received rain, was no longer dry. Was is past tense. Because the main verb is past tense, then this aorist tense would probably then not be translated receiving, but which received, because of the main verb was. Again, the context translates a lot, but just by itself, you can simply translate ha lambanon, the one who receives, or because it's present tense, the one who is receiving. He labusa is also the one who receives, but I would not use the progressive tense with an aorist, use a present tense English to translate an aorist tense Greek. I would say simply the one who receives. So in any case, both of these are used as a noun. The clue is the article, ha and he. Masculine or feminine or even neuter, ta, which would be lamban on if it's present tense, on, omicron, nu. You should look at the endings again for the masculine, feminine, and neuter. That's one use of the participle as a noun. The second use is as an adjective. Ha, anthropos, agapon. Notice that we have ha agapon, which would be by itself the one who loves or the one loving, present tense continuous. But it is describing, in this case, a man, ha anthropos agapon, in which case it is being used as an adjective to say the loving man. Or we might translate the man who loves, or the man is loving. So it describes the man, so we say it's an adjective form. Now, because it has the article with anthropos, and because the article ha is there, it is very similar to the noun use. And that is why Dr. Campbell combines these two as one and says they are both noun use. But I would separate them grammatically. In the second case, it is describing anthropos. The third one, the adverbial use of the participle, is the one that will take us much more time in the future. And again, let's see, I'm thinking I need to, but I don't. And again, in the future, especially in Greek 4 next semester, we will be developing this in detail. Now, if I share the screen again once with you, the translation, translation strategies for participles. I cannot emphasize this section enough to you. He is not giving here 1, 2, 3 like I did, noun, adjective, and adverb. What he's actually doing is combining here the, as Dr. Campbell does, the noun and the adjective uses together. Does the participle have an article? If it does, its translation is straightforward. Translate the one who is loving, the one who is loosing, and so on. Even if it's feminine, it's still the one. If it's neuter, it might be the thing, which is, depending on what it refers to. Because as you know, the Spirit of God, for example, pneuma, spirit, is neuter, ta pneuma. And then in that case, we would say, if it's the Spirit of God, especially the Spirit who is leading. So even if it's a neuter form, it could be still translated with the English, the one who. And then he says, if the participle does not have an article, try translating as a time reference, while, when, or as. And this is what we have discussed thus far as the adverbial use. I think we can leave off number 3 for right now because we are mainly concerned with the noun and adjective use here and the adverbial temporal use here. Let me again give you some examples quickly and then move on to our main subject. Stop sharing. Let me use a different camera again. Use this camera. All right. I have the textbook here, but I also have 3 sentences. Here's the first one. Hi, diakonus I. Now, I don't know if you know this verb, diakoneo. Diakon. You might have deacons in your church. Many churches have deacons. Usually they are seen, understood as people like Stephen and Philip in Acts chapter 6, who at first were chosen to serve in a practical way. Now notice, hi is the feminine plural. So we're talking about female servants here. If it's in reference to people, then it is female servants. In that case, the feminine is not just grammatical, it refers to ladies. The female servants are better, the ones who are serving, because this is present tense, diakonusai. Look again at your participle forms, the feminine plural. Diakonusai would be the feminine plural. The ones who are serving, in parentheses, female, the female servants, are the ones who are serving. Now we have tous, doulos, into hiero, but I still don't have a main verb. I have a participle, but a participle usually needs a main verb. And here it is, elabin, autus. Actually, I made a mistake, didn't I? It should be on, third person plural, not singular. The female servants, or the ones who are serving, simply received, past tense, aorist tense. We have the augment, so this is past tense. Received the slaves, tous doulos, accusative, received the slaves in the temple. Or actually, the ones serving in the temple, serving I changed the sentence. I got it out of a book, and actually this word we don't need. The one serving in the temple received the slaves. A little bit unusual that tous doulos comes somewhere forward in the sentence, but that's probably because there's a little emphasis upon the slaves. Received the slaves. Perhaps they didn't expect them to receive the slaves. They expected them to perhaps to hit them or to strike them or to send them away. Instead, they received them. Something about the slaves is important to move tous doulos forward in the sentence. But the main thing we need to notice right now is simply that this is a noun form. So this is an example of use number 1. Okay. A noun form, the participle here, diakonusai, hi, diakonusai has the article, and it is being used as a noun. Now let me give you a second sentence. Where is it? Here it is. I'm in trouble. Ha, adelphos, the brother, who is preaching. In this case, the who is preaching, ha keruson, or who is proclaiming, is actually describing a brother. So this is an example of use number 2. It's an adjective. The brother who is preaching, or the preaching brother, but that's not really good English. We would almost have to say the brother who is preaching, present tense. If I had aorist, I would probably say the brother who preached. Probably my main verb would also be in the aorist tense. And so everything would be thrown into the past. If the main verb is in the past tense, then we don't have a main verb here yet. The sentence is too short. But if we had a main verb, it would probably be in the aorist tense if the participle were in the aorist tense. But the participle is in the present tense. The brother who is preaching the gospel. Evangelion is the word for gospel. I don't know if you've had it yet in your vocabulary, but we will certainly have it next semester. The brother who is preaching the gospel to the peoples. All right. So here the participle is describing adelphos. So it's an adjectival use of the participle. Again, though, it's very similar to the noun used, and it has the article as well. Now, Dr. McIver, number 2, says if you don't have the article, and especially I would say if the sentence begins with a participle without the article, then you probably have an adverbial use. When you have an adverbial use, it is especially important that you look for a main verb. Why? Because an adverb modifies a verb. So I will look for a main verb, and indeed I have one, epen, he said. So here's my participle, anabainon, and I know from my vocabulary, actually I think this is in vocabulary 20.1 or 20.2, to go up, and this is the present tense ending, but this is the one going up. But I already have a subject here. It's Jesus. Ha Jesus epen. Jesus said words. Now the sentence is not complete. Logos. After that, I should have something more, but I only wanted to write part of the sentence. Jesus said words, but I need to go back here. Anabainon taute te ge. Taute means this, and in the dative case, te 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 ge. In the dative case, I can have the meaning, if I don't have a preposition, and I don't, to or for is a common use of the dative. And that works. If you look at this, you realize here is a temporal use. That is what Mr. McIver means, Dr. McIver means with number 2. Try to translate with time, especially with verbs of coming and going. And here we have going up as he was ascending. Anabaino means to ascend, to go up. And because it's present tense, anabainon and not aorist, I would probably translate while or as he is ascending. Now, here the dative case can only mean from, because he's leaving from the earth, gay. As he is ascending from the earth, Jesus said words. Or perhaps better, while he is ascending from the earth, Jesus said. More likely, I would have a present tense verb here. Jesus is saying, but I can also have an aorist. In other words, the present tense tells me that something is happening, and while it is happening, something in particular is being pointed out with the aorist tense. What he's doing here is giving me additional information. He's giving me background information with the participle that Jesus is doing something, but while he is doing that, present tense participle, he is saying something, or he said something. The aorist tense here in particular would probably point out strongly the words that he said. This is the background information. As he was ascending into heaven, he said. But notice, this is an example of the temporal use. You don't have an article, so it's not a nominative case use. So again, I'm emphasizing the three uses of the participle. So notice them again. As a noun, as an adjective, and as an adverb, especially if it comes at the beginning of the sentence and doesn't have the article and is related to a main verb. If it is adverbial, there must be a main verb. The main verb could be understood. A me is sometimes not written, is or was. Sometimes it's left out, it's understood, but still it is the main verb. So, but we just had an example of an adverbial use. While Jesus was ascending from the earth, he said. While he said, the participle is adverbial. Actually, adverbial temporal. Next semester, we will discover that especially in the epistles of the New Testament, there are many more uses of the participle. I'm going to stop actually